Okay, hi guys. I hope you all can hear me. This is actually my first time coming live on YouTube. Okay, this is my first time coming live on any platform at all. So in this live video, I'm going to be teaching us how to make this simple gown. So we decided to start with something simple. Let's see how the live class goes. I'll be making use of this fabric. Open this bed, let me see. I'll be making use of this Ankara fabric and I have just 3 yards here and also this Ashoki, and this is just 1 yard of Ashoki. So this is the style we're making. I'm making this for a client. It's a straight kaftan and it's stopped below the knee. We have the Ashoki here at the front, that's from the neckline to just a little below the underbust, and we also have the Ashoki at the round sleeve. And we also need a tassel for this. I'm going to show us the tassel we're going to be using. So that we don't waste too much time, let me read out the measurements we're going to be working with. You need the shoulder measurement, the bust measurement, the waist measurement, the hip measurement, and the length of the gown. Here we're working with a shoulder measurement of 16 inches, the bust is 39 inches, the waist measurement is 33 inches, the hip measurement is also 39 inches, and then the gown length is 43 inches. The sleeve length is 13 inches, so it will stop just at the elbow length. You also need the round sleeve. The upper round sleeve is 13 inches, and then the elbow round measurement is 12 inches. So we're going to be drafting the front and the back together at the same time. So please, if you can hear me, let me know where you're watching me from. And if you need me to be more audible, just let me know also. Thank you. So like I said, we're going to be drafting the front and back together. So I'm going to fold the fabric using the biggest circumference. Now the the hip measurement is 39 inches and the bust measurement is also 39 inches, so they are equal. I'm going to use that 39 inches to determine the amount of fabric to fold. And 39 divided by 4, that's 9 3/4. So plus 2 inches. Okay, so I'm going to be adding about 3 inches to this. This gown is supposed to be free. So 9 3/4 plus 3 inches, that will give us 12 3/4. So I'm going to fold 12 3/4 for the back and for the front, sorry, 12 3/4 for the front, and then for the back, 12 3/4 plus extra 1 inch for our zip allowance. So that means the back is going to be 13 3/4. Okay, so I'll go ahead and fold the fabric. So this is enough for the front. I'll cut it out. So you can drop your comments in the live chat and the moderator will read it out for us. Okay, so I'll also cut out for the back. So for the back, you just need extra 1 inch. Okay, so here I have my 1 inch, and this is for the back. May I give me the tassel? Okay, so this is the exact fabric we are working with. So this is for our back. You can see it is wider by 1 inch, and this is for the front. So I'll start off with drawing the starting line. So here's our starting line, which will serve as the shoulder line. So from this shoulder line, next I'm going to mark the chest line. And the chest line is 9 inches. So from the shoulder line, I'll mark 9 inches. So to get the chest line, just divide the bust circumference by 6 plus 2.5, and you have the chest line. So this is the chest line. I'm just going to mark it across. I hope we can see the chalk marking. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, from the chest line, I'm going to mark the waistline. And the waistline is on 16 inches. Next is the hip line. The hip line is 24.5. And then the full length of the gown is 43 inches. So this is going to be what I have left is going to be the hemming allowance. Okay, so I'm going to straighten out my lines. So here we are. So now on the shoulder line, I'm going to enter the shoulder measurement divided by 2 plus ½ inch for joining the sleeve. Take note of where I'm taking my measurement from. It's starting from the center front here. So if you don't want to get confused, you can just go ahead and fold in this zip allowance of 1 inch. Can you see? You can just fold it in. So, but this is fine. I know that we already understand what I'm doing. So I'm just going to mark out this part so that we know that this is our zip allowance. So let's mark out the zip allowance. Okay, so back to the shoulder line. So the shoulder measurement divided by 2 plus ½ inch is 8.5. So on this 8.5 mark, I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slant. And then I'm going to mark the neck width. I'm using a neck width of 4 inches. And this is it here. So I'll use my straight ruler to connect it to this point. You see? So next I'll come down to the chest line. So here on the chest line, I'm going to mark the shoulder measurement divided by 2 plus same ½ inch. And this is it here. I'm making sure to take my measurement from this point, which is the center front. And then I'll go ahead and connect it to the shoulder slant. So now we have our armhole line. So here on the chest line, I'm going to enter the bust measurement divided by 4. And that is 9 3/4. So can you see this is where it stops? So I'll get the midpoint of this armhole line. That's from the shoulder slant to the chest line. I'll fold my tape into 2, and this is the midpoint here. I'll go in by ½ inch. So remember, we're drafting for both the front and back. So this ½ inch I came in here is for the back. I'll go ahead and connect it to the shoulder tip. And then I'll place my armhole curve like this to connect from this ½ inch to the bust measurement I have here on the chest line. So now we have our back armhole. So for the front armhole, still at this midpoint, I will come in by 3/4 inch. Remember that for the front, for the back, we came in by ½ inch. So for the front is 3/4 inch. And then I'll go ahead and connect it back to the shoulder tip. And then I'll connect it to the bust measurement, still on the chest line. So we now have the back armhole and the front armhole. So the inner one is the front and the outer one is the back armhole. So now on this chest line, I already entered the bust measurement divided by 4. Next, I'm going to enter my sewing allowance. I said I'll be using 3 inches so that this is free. By the time I use ½ inch to turn my lining, I'll be left with 2.5, and I'll use 1 inch to sew. That's my side stitching allowance. That means I'll be left with 1.5. So the gown is going to be free. Okay, so I'll add 3 inches here. Then I'll come down to the waistline. The waist measurement is 33 inches. 33 divided by 4. I'm going to enter it here, which is 8 and quarter. So plus 3 inches. And then I'll come down to the hip line. The hip measurement divided by 4 is 9 and 3 quarter. So plus same 3 inches. Okay, so this gown is going to be straight. Whatever measurement I have here on the hip line, I will take it down to the head. So let's just measure it. Everything I have here is 12 and 3 quarter. So I'll bring it down to the head here. So and this is it here. So I'll also bring it down to the hemming allowance. So right now I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect the points. So I'll connect from the chest line to the waistline, and then to the hip line, then to the full length. So this is what we have, okay? So now for our center back, this gown is very free, and we're going to have a zipper at the back. So if we don't take out our zipper bulge, the gown is going to fold at the back. Remember, it is free. Even for tight gowns, we have it bulging at the back when you don't take out the zipper bulge. I have a zip allowance entirely of 1 inch. You can see that this is 1 inch. So this 1 inch now that I have, I'm going to go in by that same 1 inch. This gown is very free, so I'm taking away the entire 1 inch. Can you see? This is on the waistline. I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect to the shoulder line. That means I'm going in by 1 inch. Can you see? So I've taken out the entire 1 inch here. Then on the hip line here, I will go up by 1 inch. And this is it here. I'll connect it to this point. So can you see that our zip allowance is gone? So this way our gown will not bulge at the back, but we still need this zip allowance. So this 1 inch I removed here, I will transfer it back to the side. So I'm going to use another color of chalk so that we understand it. So I'll come here to this side and mark 1 inch. Can you see? The 1 inch I removed here, I'll mark it back here on the side. So I'll go ahead and connect it all the way to the chest line. Can you see? So I'll connect it to the chest line. And then I'll also come up 1 inch above the hip line here at the side. And then connect the 1 inch to finish up here. So this is me basically transferring my zip allowance from here to here. Can you see that? So that way our zipper will not bulge at the back, despite the fact that it is a very free gown. So the next thing we're going to do is to mark the neckline. We already have a neck width of 4 inches. So the back neck depth is going to be 1.5 inches. And then I'm going to connect it this way. So please, if you have questions, just drop it in the live chat. I'm going to respond to you. So we have a neck depth of 1.5 inches. And then a neck depth for the back, now, sorry, for the front now, a neck depth of 6 inches. I'm using a neck depth of 6 inches for the front. For the back, the neck depth is 1 inch. So I'll go ahead and connect it this way. So the front neckline is a V neckline. Can you see? So this is what we have. So right now we're done drafting our front and back pattern. So if you have any question, if there is anything you do not understand, please feel free to ask your questions now. Do you have any question? Okay, so let's go ahead and cut it out. So I'll be starting with the back neckline. There's a question. Okay. Is our moderator read out the question? Okay. This is the gown we are making. No. Okay, this is the gown we are making. Let me show us the picture. Sorry, this our live video today is very funny because this is my first time. The next time we're coming live is going to make more sense. I just woke up this morning and decided to come on live. Okay, so this is the gown we're making. You see? So this is what we are making. It's a free gown. What I did was I entered the measurements needed. Let me mention them first. Let me just go through it fast. The shoulder measurement, and I divided the shoulder measurement by 2, and that gave us 8 inches. I added ½ inch to it and entered it on the shoulder line. And then, of course, I came down from the shoulder line to mark the chest line. And I said to get your chest line, divide your bust circumference by 6 plus 2.5, and you have your chest line. And then the next line I have here is the waistline. That's from shoulder to waistline, from shoulder to the hip line. This one's you measure your client or you measure yourself. So this is the hip line. And then the full length of the gown is 43 inches. Then I have a hemming allowance of 1.5 inches. So this is the entire Ankara length I'm using, okay? So, and then here at the armhole, after marking my shoulder slant, I came down by 1 inch for the shoulder slant and I connected it to the neck width. Here at the armhole, I got the midpoint. This is the armhole from the shoulder slant to the chest line. This is the armhole. I got the midpoint here and I came in by ½ inch first. This ½ inch I came in is for the back because we are drafting for both the front and back together. So it's for the back, and then I connected it to the shoulder tip and I curved it to meet the bust measurement here, okay? And then I still came back to the midpoint of the armhole. I went in by 3/4 of an inch. Now this is for the front armhole. 3/4 of an inch, and I connected it back to the shoulder tip and I curved it to meet the bust measurement here on the chest line. Then I went ahead to enter the bust measurement divided by 4 plus 3 inches. I use entire 3 inches because the gown is going to be very free. I'll use ½ inch to turn my lining and then I'll stitch on 1 inch. So that means I'm going to be left with 1.5 inches. So the gown is going to be very free. And remember, our fabric is folded into 4. So whatever I'm doing on the left is the same thing we are doing on the right, okay? So on the waist measurement, I also entered the waist measurement divided by 4 plus 3. The same thing on the hip line. Whatever I had on the hip line, exactly what I have on the hip line, I brought it down to the hemline. So it's a straight gown and it went all the way down. Okay, so now I said that this gown is a very free gown. It is likely to fold at the back. So to avoid any fold at the back, my zip allowance of 1 inch, I removed it completely. And you see, on the waistline here, I removed it completely and I slanted it to the shoulder line. And then I slanted it to 1 inch above the hip line. So I'm going to be cutting out this part. Then that 1 inch I removed from here, I transferred it back to the side here. So this is to avoid any form of zipper bolt. So you can see I still have my zip allowance, but it's no longer here because here will give us excess fabric at the back and cause fold. So I'm transferring the 1 inch from this side to this side so that the gown is not straight here to avoid any bulge. I hope I've been able to explain a little and you understand. Just watch through the live video, you will understand perfectly what I have done here. Okay? So if that's the only question, is that the only question? So we can go ahead and continue cutting. So this is our shoulder slant. I'm going to take it off. So remember we're drafting for both the front and back. So I'll cut only on the back marking first. So this is the back armhole. And then I'm just going to cut out the side now. So you can see this yellow chalk now is for our back. Okay, so we'll take out this for the back, and then we'll come here and cut out the zipper bulge. Okay, can you see? So I'll go ahead and slash open the remaining side here. So now I can now separate the back from the front. So this is what our back will look like. Can you see? So that this back is not straight. Can you see this opening we have here? Of course, by the time we want to fix our zipper, we'll have to bring it closer this way so it will no longer create any bulge at the back. So now for our front, I'm going to take out this excess. You can see that this is the zip allowance I transferred. So I'll first of all take it out from here. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and cut out the front neckline. So this is what our front neckline looks like. Okay, so this is what our front neckline looks like. So next I'll also cut out the front armhole. I almost forgot that. So cut out the front armhole. You can see this is the front armhole. Okay, so this is what we now have. Can you see that? So the next thing we're going to do now is to bring in our Ashoki fabric before we cut out the sleeve. So for the Ashoki, we're going to have to, you can see the Ashoki is thin, and I'm going to have the Ashoki, the whole of this part, before we create the V shape. So this is what I'm going to do. From the shoulder here, the Ashoki will stop under the bust. That's under the bust, that's about 13 inches, so 13.5. You see, so 13.5. So I'm going to measure out 13.5 inches, or let's do 14 inches, so that this excess we have here. So this is 14 inches, and you see, so we need 3 of this. You see that this is not enough, so that's why we need 3, because they need to overlap on top of each other. So I'll cut the third one. Okay. So for the Ashoki, we're going to place them over each other like this and like this, and then stitch. So you want to make sure that they overlap with, now in this case, I'm going to overlap it with about 1 inch. 1 inch over each other this way, 1 inch. So this is so that it stops exactly at the shoulder measurement here. Can you see that? So 1 inch over each other. Let me pin it and show us how we stitching them together. Okay, so this is what we have now. So I'm going to give my girl to just stitch it for me this way. She'll stitch here and stitch here all together, so we can continue cutting our sleeve. So where is our fabric? So to cut the basic sleeve, I already said that the sleeve length is 13 inches. So to determine the amount of fabric to fold for the sleeve, I'm going to measure what I have on the armhole. And this is 13 inches. So we want to make sure that what I have here is going to be up to that 13 inches. So this will fit into the armhole. Okay? So having folded my fabric, the first thing I'm going to do is to mark the starting line. So this is where our sleeve measurement will start from. And then from this point, I'm going to come down by the calf's height. So the calf's height here I'm working with is 4 inches. So to get the calf's height, divide your bust circumference by 12 plus half inch. That will give you your calf's height. So having marked the calf's height, next I'm going to mark the length of the sleeve. And the length of the sleeve is 13 inches. So I'll be using exactly this 13 inches. We're going to have the Ashoki at the hem of the sleeve. So we'll use the Ashoki to turn the sleeve. Okay? So we're working with exactly 13 inches. And this is it here. Okay? So on this calf's height line, I'm going to enter the armhole measurement. Already I said that the chest line is 9 inches. Okay, so the armhole is the way to get your armhole, a very simple way. Divide your bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5, and in this case that's 8 inches. So I'm going to mark that 8 inches on the calf's height line. It's about 7.8, so I approximated it to 8 inches, okay? So I'll go ahead and connect from this 8 inches mark to the starting point of the sleeve here. That's to this folded point. And then I'll get the midpoint. Can you see? So from the shoulders and from the slanted line, that's from this folded part to the 8 inches mark. You can see now that I now have 9 inches because it's a slanted line, so it has increased. So this is the midpoint here, which is 4.5. So I will get the midpoint of the 4.5. This is it up here. And then I'll also get the midpoint of the down part here. So this is it. So at this midpoint here, I will go up by ½ inch. And then at the midpoint here down, I will go down by ½ inch. So I'll go ahead and connect from this starting point to this ½ inch and then to the midpoint here. And then I'll go ahead and connect it also this way. Okay, so you can see what we have left here is that 3 inches, which is the sewing allowance we added to our fabric. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the round sleeve measurement. So the round sleeve measurement for the elbow is 12 inches. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. I'll add the same. Okay, now down here, I'm just going to add 2.5. So I'll add 2.5 here. And then this is it. So I'll go ahead and connect it this way. So this is basically it. Our basic sleeve is ready. So there's no need for hemming allowance because we're going to use the Ashoki to turn the hem of the sleeve. So right now, I'll go ahead and cut it out. Okay. So now I'll cut out the second sleeve. Just the same thing. I'll trace out the second sleeve. Okay, So we now have our second sleeve. So this is the fabric, this is the Ashoki we'll be using to turn the hem of our sleeve. So very simple, I'm just going to divide the Ashoki into two, like this, can you see? So I'll just fold it into two, this way, and press it. So I'm going to slash through. So one will be for the left sleeve and the other will be for the right. Okay, so this is what we have. So I'm going to place the Ashoki from the wrong side of the sleeve, from the wrong side here. And then I want to turn to the right side here. But that's after I must have cut my lining. I'll be lining this outfit. So everything I have here, the front, the back pieces, and the sleeves, I will cut out the lining for them. Okay, then we are good to start sewing. So if you're finding this class helpful, and if you're learning from this class, please let me know. If you have questions to ask, please feel free to drop your questions. Do we have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Let's cut out our lining first for the sleeves. Ify, do you have any question? What did the person do? So for the lining, I'm making the lining exactly the same length as the main sleeve. Okay. Okay, so now we have the linings for our sleeves. So we'll cut out the lining for the front. So we can use one to just cut it out. Okay, so I'm going to fold this. So the lining is going to be shorter, 1.5 inches shorter than the main fabric. So this is our back piece. So all I need to do is to fold up 1.5 inches. So let's measure and see. So this is our 1.5 inches. So I'm folding my lining so that I don't waste my fabric. Okay, so go ahead and cut it out. Okay, so I'm going to slash this part open. And then I'll take out the zipper bolt. And then here is our neckline. So this is our back lining. So it's 1.5 inches shorter. So I'll also cut out the back and the front. Where's our front piece? Okay, so okay. So I'm going to fold over the 1.5 inches, which is our hemming allowance. I'll just fold it upwards here. And this is it. So go ahead and cut out the front neckline. Keep checking the video is captured. Is it okay? So we now have our front lining. So this gown is also going to have pockets. And this is our leftover fabric. I'm just going to use it to cut pockets. So the first thing I'm going to do is to fold the material into two like this. This is going to be a very simple pocket. So just fold into two, and then I'll place my palm. Just make sure that what you are drawing out is enough for a hand to go in. Can you see? So I'm just going to draw it out like this. Can you see the shape I have? So this is big enough. So I usually just measure here and be sure that it's up to 9 inches. Can you see? So this is up to 9 inches. So I'll cut this part straight. And then I'll cut out the shape of the pocket. So these two I'm cutting out is for one side. So I'll also cut out 2 pieces for the other side. And see, I have 2. So I'll cut out another 2 for the other side of the gown. So first my fabric. Have you stitched the Ashoki? Hmm? What is it?
Is it a tip?
Yes. Okay. So we now have the pockets for the 2 sides. Okay, so before she finished stitching the Ashoki, let me show us how we're going to sew this. So this is our back here. So I'm going to place the lining. I'll place the lining over the right side of the back, one side of the lining. So first I'm going to stitch the hem. Can you see? This is the hem here. Let me pin it this way. So I'll stitch the hem on 1/2 inch. So after stitching it, this is what we'll now have. So this will now allow it shift up. Can you see that? Then I'll go ahead and stitch the center back like this. I'll stitch on 1/2 inch. I will also do the same thing here. I'll stitch on 1/2 inch. So that's I'm basically turning the lining. And then I'll stitch the neckline. Okay, so I'll turn it out from the armhole here. Let me repeat myself. The first place to stitch is the hem. You stitch the hem. Then, of course, after stitching the hem, this will now allow the seam, the hemming allowance, now come forward. Okay, then I'm going to stitch the center back this way. I will stitch the side. then stitch the neckline. So I'll turn it out from the armhole. So I'll repeat the same thing for the second back piece. And then for the sleeve, because this sleeve is going to have the Ashoki at the head. So here I'm just going to place the lining, the lining on the right side, and then I'll stitch here on half inch, stitch here on half inch, and turn it out before we place our Ashoki at the head. Okay, so this is what we'll have by the time we're done stitching. So I'll turn it out this way. Can you see? So this is what we'll now have. Can you see? So this is what we'll now have to look like this. And then this Ashoki that I have here, I'm going to place it on the side of the lining, then stitch it, and then turn it to the right side, like this. You see? Okay, I'm thinking we should just use the lining to turn everything so that we don't have the Ashoki outside. So let's separate the lining first from the main fabric. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do first. I'm going to place the Ashoki on the sleeve like this. You see? So this is where it ends. So I'll fold in this half inch. So let me fold in half inch first. So I haven't folded in half inch. So when I place it this way, this is what it will look like. So I'm going to mark this point, exactly this point, where the Ashoki stops. And then I'll open up this crease line that I have ironed already and place it this way. Can you see? I'm pinning it down now. And then I'm going to stitch here like this. Can you see? So by the time I'm done stitching, this is what it will now look like, to just fall backwards this way. So the stitch is hidden inside. Then I can now go ahead and use my lining to turn all of them. Okay, so I will go do that and come back and show us. Okay, so this is also a Ashoki that has been stitched together. So I'm just going to trim out the excess I have here. And then I'll fold it into two, like this. Okay, so now we'll bring in the front piece. So this folded part, I'm going to make sure to align it with the folded part of the gown. Can you see that? I'm just going to place it this way. And then I'll cut out the shoulder slant, the neckline, let's see this thing. Is this square at the down part? Where's the tassel? Okay, so the down part of our Ashoki has a V shape. It's slanted. You can see we have traced out our neckline. So at the down part here, I'm just going to go up. Can you see? So from here at the side, this is our center front. So at the side here, I will go up by 3 inches. So I'm measuring 3 inches from the down part of the Ashoki. And then I'm going to use my ruler to connect to the center front here. You see? So I'll go ahead and cut it out like this. So this is what our Ashoki will look like. Can you see? So I'll bring in my hemming gum so that I can show us how to place this first. So this is the tassel I'm going to be using. I'll be making use of a red tassel. Okay, so first here at the sides of Ashoki, I'm going to fold in 1/2 inch. Ashoki does not have right or wrong side, so this just depends. This is the part I have it stitched. Can you see? So I'm going to just use this side that is more organized. You can see it's stitched very close to the tip. So we now have our 3 pieces placed together. So the side that has the excess, I'm leaving it underneath. Okay? So now this is our center here. Let me mark the center. You want to make sure that the V shape, this slanted shape, that it forms well. So I'm going to fold in 1/2 inch. Please give me the clapper. So you can see I folded in 1/2 inch. Just going to use my clapper to keep it down like this. So I'm going to come here. You can see I have the crease line here. So you want to make sure to fold over here to still maintain the V shape. Can you see what I'm doing here? So then I'll iron again. So if it looks like the V shape is not coming out well, just rearrange and iron again. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm just making sure to rearrange it. So this side has a nicer V shape. So I'm just going to make this side too. So can you see what I'm doing? I'm just pushing it in like this. Okay, so I think I have what I like already. So there is no need folding this part because this is the tip or the hem of the Ashoki and it is okay. But if you don't want to see it, you can go ahead and fold it in. But I won't be folding it in. It's already looking good. Okay, so I'm going to place it this way over the front piece. Can you see? So you want to make sure that everything is sitting well and it is aligned. Can you see it's getting to the armhole here? So I'm pressing it down like this. And then I'm going to bring in my hemming gum and place it this way. Just place it underneath. Just lift it up a little and place your hemming gum under it. Okay. And this is what we have here. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. You see? So this is okay. So I'm going to spin press it. So this hemming gum will help keep the Ashoki in place before we can top stitch it. Because if you don't top stitch it, this is not a permanent hemming gum. So if you are using the permanent hemming gum, you will not need to top stitch. But this one is not permanent. So by the time you press, it's likely to start lifting up, okay? So you want to avoid that. So having pressed it, I'm also going to place the hemming gum too on this side, just so that it keeps it in place before I chop stitch. Okay, so now for the tassel. Okay, you can see I've already ironed my hemming gum here, but like I said, that is not a permanent hemming gum. So when you steam press the part you have the hemming gum, it will lift it up. Can you see? It allowed it to lift up easily. So I'm going to place the tassel. Now, this is the part of the tassel. I want all this part to go in. This is just the part I want to see outside. So I'm just going to place it here exactly at the midpoint. Can you see what I'm doing? Can you see? So I'm going to press again. So there is no need to add hemming gum. If you press again, it will activate the hemming gum that is under. Okay, so this is what we have. Can you see? So now the next thing I'm going to do is to take this to my sewing machine and stitch this way. I'll make a top stitch this way, this way, this way. That's just it. So around this part, I can just back stitch a little just to hold this down very well at this point, so that even if they drag it, it will not go out. Even though there's nothing that will make it hard because my stitch is going to run over it, but just to be on the safe side, when I get to this part, I'm going to back stitch so that it keeps it intact. Okay, so that's that for this part. So I'll go do all this and come back. Can we carry the light and go and show them? To start carrying it now. Hmm? Let's go so that we show. Okay. Thank you. So we're moving from one place to another. So I'm at the sewing machine now. It's time for us to sew. To show you what we're doing. You can bring it too. Let me get something. She will be the one saying replying. Yeah, that's what you will say. You will say this person said because me I'm not seeing it now. Come and be reading it out. If you follow, no, nothing will show. Nothing will show. Okay. If you guys are blank. That's why I say it's okay. And she said you love them. Take. What's the problem? Orientation locked. What is orientation locked? What does this mean? Rotate back. Now you did. But is it still capturing it?
Yes, it is still video.
But it's not looking bright though. Just connected. Okay, what are they saying? Please read it out for us.
Adachi said, okay, outside that,
Okay.
Antonio now said all grace.
Oh, thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Adachi. Adachi, I've missed you. I've not been seeing your comment for a while. Where have you been?
Kate told said, well done, my data is finished. I will work it later when I get that.
Okay, thank you, Madam Kate Okolo. May God provide money for data so that you can watch. And join me in my next live video, which will be very long, okay? So we have started and we have started. We move.
We friends,
Mm.
one boyfriend said, I love your work, man. I didn't know you had a class, a live class, so I didn't join on time. Kudos.
Thank you so much, Winifred. Thank you.
Ogechi, like he said, wow, this is good work.
Okay, thank you so much, Ogechi. Thank you. God bless you. Give me my scissors, please. Help me with the scissors. We're wasting time. Let's start. Thank you. I'm going to announce our next live class. I just tried today's one. Something, I just woke up this morning. Will I say it's the Holy Spirit now? Something just told me to try it. So this is our first time coming on live. I didn't want to over prepare for it. So that's why I just decided to try it with this simple outfit. So we'll be having more live classes and I'm going to announce it. So now we're just getting to practice it. This is the first time we're coming live, like I already said. So by the time we are familiar with it, it will now be easy for us to organize our class. You can see that today there's a lot of confusion. So I hope people pardon me. Thank you. So now I'm stitching the Ashoki. I'm stitching very close to the tip. So here, once I get to this end here, make sure your needle is down. I'm leaving my needle down. Then I'll lift up the presser foot like this. Can you see? And then turn this way. Okay, so I'm going to pick this and then I will turn at this side. And then again, I'll lift up my presser foot and then turn, bring down the presser foot and then stitch this way. If you please bring the lining. Okay, so here we are. So you can see we have neatly top stitched our Ashoki and we have our tassel exactly at the middle here. So the next thing I'm going to do is to place the lining. This is the front lining now. So I'm going to place it on the right side. So pin, and then here, so we'll start with the hem, just like I explained to us for the back. So we'll start with the hem, we'll stitch here on 1/2 inch. Okay, so here, okay, so having stitched the hem, now can you see that there's a difference here? So I'm just going to align it. So by aligning it at the armhole here, can you see that the hemming allowance will show up by itself? Can you see what I have? So I'll go ahead and now stitch from the hem up to the armhole there. So this is me basically turning my lining. So this is French finishing. So if you don't have a weaving machine, whether you have a weaving machine or not, this just makes your work neat and easier instead of having to go and weave and weave and weave, okay? So I'll stitch it to this point. Can you see? So I've stitched this side. So I'll repeat the same thing on this side. So now for this side, I can start from the armhole here. Oops, my thread has cut, so let's thread it. Okay, so having stitched both sides, next I'm going to stitch the neckline. So our V neckline, you want to make sure that the V neckline comes out very, very sharp. So for a beginner now, if you don't know how to navigate around this part, it is advisable to mark, please help me with chalk. It's advisable to mark here at the center so that you navigate correctly at this side. Okay, so this is our middle here, so I'm just going to mark it this way. I'll be stitching on 1/2 inch. Can you see? So I know that this is where my 1/2 inch will stop. You can as well mark the neckline with 1/2 inch. Maybe we should do that. This will help. So here we are, this way. Can you see? And then I'll also mark 1/2 inch on this side. So you want to make sure that the V shape comes out sharp. My chalk is thick, but I know how to make it sharp. I will do that sharp, okay? So now I'm going to start sewing from here. So here, so make sure that the V shape is coming out well. So I'll take it down, then my needle will come down here. I'll make sure to leave the needle down and then I will turn. Can you see? So I'll turn this way, then bring down the presser foot, and then sew. Okay, so right now they have taken our light, so I'm going to connect my batteries to the ring light. So just hold on a little for me. Mm. I love this. You try the machine, like probably this one is so foolish. I don't have it. That's why. Okay, sorry, never took our light. This is Nigeria, so I'm threading my manual sewing machine. Yeah. Okay, so this is our neckline, and we're done stitching the neckline. You can see our V shape came out really sharp. So the next thing I'm going to do is to notch it. And you see, I'm going to notch exactly at the middle here. Be careful not to cut your thread. I didn't cut the thread, my stitch, okay? So don't cut through your thread, just notch the middle. So the deeper the notch is, the sharper the V will be. So I'm just going to also notch this side. So we're just going to continue sewing. For now, we'll not be able to press. We'll just join our pieces together first so that by the time they bring the light, we can continue. So I'm turning it out now from the armhole. So the iron was on. Oh yeah, please just use it to iron the next one. So give me the back. Okay. So this is what it looks like here in front. So you can see our V shape. So we're just going to give this a good press. Our iron is still hot, so we'll just iron it a bit. And then we'll also turn the back. So for the back, I already told us what I'll be doing, so I'll just go ahead and stitch starting from the hem. Okay, so I haven't stitched the back. You see? So now I will now pull up my lining. So of course the hemming allowance will show up. So I'll go ahead and turn the neckline. Have you threaded the other one? Okay. No, don't worry. So do we have any comments or any questions? Okay. So here, the neckline. So I'll just drop my needle down here and make a turn. So this is the center back now. Just refix my needle well. Do you have any questions? Mhm. Okay. So after stitching this side, I'm going to repeat the same thing on this side. So now I'll turn it this way. So I'll start from the hem. Give me the sleeve. So I'm done with this. Bring it, let me show them so that this one I don't have to explain. Okay, so we're done turning the back lining. So go ahead and notch the neckline round. So make sure that when notching, don't cut your seam lines. Can you see? I'm just notching on the half inch. So go ahead and turn it inside out through the armhole here. So I'm going to repeat exactly the same thing on this side. Okay? So let's do that before we go ahead and treat the sleeves. We need to turn the sides. Morning. Morning. Okay, so I'll make a turn here now at the neckline. So I'm going to trim out the excess from the lining. Morning. Okay, so I'll go ahead and notch the seam allowance so that when we turn the neckline to relax well. If I have an excess here, I'm just going to trim it out. So this is just basically it for our back. As we already know, we don't have light right now, so we can't press it. So now let's treat the sleeve. We're going to just sew everything. So when they bring the light, we'll go ahead and press. So for the sleeve, remember I already marked a crease. I ironed a crease line, and this is what we have here. So I'm going to stitch it here. I'm going to stitch exactly on the folded line. Okay, so you can see this is now what we have here. So I'll also go ahead and top stitch it at the hem here. after stitching it, I'm going to trim out the excess Ankara. Okay, then I'll bring in the lining and place it on the right side here. And then I'm going to stitch on 1/2 inch. And then this is what we will have. So we need iron to be able to press this very well. So when pressing it, I'm going to shift in a little. This is like 1/4 inch. Okay, just push it backwards like this. Let me use my, you see? So I'm just going to shift it backwards like this so that we don't have the lining showing on the right side. So this will now make the lining longer here. And you see at this upper part, and then we'll trim it out because we don't need it. Okay? So you can see it has already come out. So let me just go ahead and trim it out. Okay? So I'll also trim out the excess we have here on our Ashoki. I will trim it out here as well. So I'll place them right side facing right side now. You see? So because the lining is already shorter, can you see what is happening? So it's more like a hemming allowance, like 1/2 inch hemming allowance. So I'm going to stitch the sides here. Okay, and then I'll trim out my excess. I'll repeat the same thing on this side. And this is what we have. Okay, so I'm going to turn it out. Okay, so this is what our sleeve, and you see this is what it looks like. So I'm going to make a top stitch here, and then we'll give it a very good press. But like I already said, we do not have light, so I'll press it before doing the top stitch. And that's exactly what I'll do on the second sleeve. So now we're almost done with this gown. Unfortunately, we don't have light. What is left is to join the shoulders together, fix the sleeve, and then the pocket. So we're going to stop this live video for now so that by the time they bring the light, we will likely continue. By then I would have ironed it, so the second phase of this video is going to be very short and fast. Thank you, and see you when we come back.